Serious, what was your biggest we need to leave now moment? Hi Reddit guys, subscribe now, or I will make you a scary present on Christmas. About 2 months ago I'd stayed up past my usual bedtime, and as soon as I got in bed I smelled something odd and was hearing some inconsistent banging and clattering from downstairs. I don't live in a great neighborhood so none of this was unusual, but I got out of bed to check anyway and saw flames licking up the side of the building. Yelled at my wife to get out of bed and threw on some clothes and we hightailed it out. Our building has a shared wall with the next, and that one had an apartment on the ground floor fully engulfed. By the time we made it outside, ended up condemning the whole building. I was the first one to call 911. Have been jerking myself awake in the night pretty consistently since then. I don't live in a great neighborhood. When I was 7, our next door neighbor came pounding on our front door to scream at and threaten to kill my dad because our pet that we kept in our backyard was being too loud. The pet was a rabbit. A rabbit. Life can just be weird at times. Grocery shopping with my grandma. She's tired. Normal for her, but she's getting a bit slower and dragging her leg more than usual. At the checkout counter I saw her face was a little droopy and I said we are leaving now and going to ER. They gave her a bottle of water for the car ride which she ended up choking on and vomiting up all the water. Called ahead to ER so they were ready and they took care of her ASAP. She was having a stroke and they were able to help her quick enough so that she didn't have any long-lasting issues. Remember fast. Face. Smile and see if one side of the face droops. Arms. Raise both arms. Does one arm drop down? Speech. Say a short phrase and check for slurred or strange speech. Time. If the answer to any of these is yes, call 911 right away and write down the time when symptoms started. I've wrote about this before. I was in a mall in Indonesia and 2 tourists seemed to be having problems communicating with the cashier at a bookstore, so I helped translate. They wanted to buy me drinks to thank me. Told them it's not necessary and I have to get back to my mum soon. They told me to meet them for dinner. Told them I have to have dinner at home. They told me to sneak out and meet them after dinner. At this point, a bookstore staff noticed something was wrong and went up to question them. My sister and I dashed off while they were distracted. Continued wandering around the mall and realized they were following us. To see if we were just paranoid, we ducked into a lingerie store since we figured 2 men won't usually need to go lingerie shopping together. They followed us in. Ran so quickly back to the jewelry store our mum was at. The store had intimidating security guards and I guess that stopped those guys. I was 11. My sister was 10. Yep. That's pretty terrifying. Showed up to her party. Some people were outside fighting. My girlfriend at the time and I decided to leave. Not long after that some guys that were a part of the first fight came back with more and a shooting occurred. Woodstock 99. Felt the energy of the grossly overpacked crowd, the building rage, and looked my friends and said we need to go. They stayed. I left. Shortly after fired and riots started and my friends lost everything they had with them. Tents, clothes, food, everything. When you have 300k people shoulder to shoulder in 104-degree humidity and charge $4 for a bottle of water and have half as many bathrooms as needed, you're gonna have a bad time. I was there. I'm wondering where you found water as cheap as $4 a bottle. I remember seeing them raise the price of water as the heat went up. Started at $4 bottle, which was an outrageous sum at the time, and went up as high as $6. I was going to post the same. We were thick in the middle of the crowd during the RHCP set when people started lighting fires. I grabbed my friend and dragged her out of there back to the tent. I barely slept that night. Things had been rowdy at certain points before that, but this felt different. It makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up just remembering it. Same kind of experience, but raw skill. 2000 Pearl Jam concert. Reality of it all hit us only the next morning, with about 500 missed calls from our parents. The memorial grove for the victims is beautiful. So I was waiting at the train station to pick up a friend of mine. I was early so I decided to stand in the sun right outside of the station. A guy with a bicycle walked up to me asking in broken English if I knew how late the train would arrive. After I answered the question, he stayed around and started talking to me. Now I know that's not weird at all, but the things he asked and the way he acted and looked just gave me a creepy vibe. Eventually he asked if I would walk with him while he dropped his bicycle off. I didn't want to because the place to store bicycles at this station is very secluded, and to be honest I didn't want to be alone with this guy. So I noped out and walked into the station. He started yelling at me, calling me names, but at that moment the train came in, and it got very busy. So he left. A few months later I read this article in the local paper about a girl being raped at the station. They had put a drawing of a guy next to the article as he was not yet caught. It was the same guy. To this day I'm very happy I didn't go with him. I was walking along the sidewalk one day and a guy with a windowless van pulled up beside me and said he would give me a bottle of water if I got in his van. It was summer and rather hot. Nope level 1. I declined and continued walking, and the guy started shouting and screaming and beating his steering wheel, yelling over and over again, it's free, how can you say no to something free? Nope level 2. I got to where I was going, which was only a few blocks farther, and was a gas station, and had a lovely drink there while talking to the cashier who was a friend and reported having the exact same situation happen to her. Nope level 3. By chance I was still there. Well, back there, late that evening when the shifts changed and the incoming cashier reported strange windowless van idling in the back corner of the lot, out of the light. Nope level cool. The police reached, but, as it happened, a rather sizable dude was in the area, overheard us swapping stories, and announced he was gonna go take care of it. I don't know what happened, but none of the three of us ever saw the van, the driver, or the big guy ever again. I hope you actually did call the police. Him being scared off is just making sure you're protected. Letting the police know, and getting the reg number, might be protecting others in future. Yeah, I don't know. Big guy was adamant that we not call the cops. To be honest, he was almost as scary as van guy. The cops were called, but by the time the showed up, guy plus driver plus van had vanished into Never Never Land. None of us ditzes remember the plate number. Best I could do was green numbers on white background, which made it out of state. I walked my friend home cause I knew a safe route to get back to where I was staying that I was absolutely sure a creepy guy in a van wouldn't be on. Maybe big guy was waiting with van guy for you to come out. Don't trust people. When I was about 16, I went to visit my grandmother at her place. The smell of natural gas was intense, even though Nana didn't seem to notice it much. She was groggy, sort of half asleep, not her usual responsive self. So I made her get out of the house at once and opened the windows and doors. I called Dad and he reported it to the gas company, who sent inspectors right away. They shut off the gas valve in the street immediately and sent a repair crew to fix a leaking joint in the gas supply pipe. The inspector said that if I hadn't acted then and there, the probability was great that there would soon have been an explosion. Fantastic job. And thankfully you all got out fine. Just some advice. Please check with your gas company or your local fire station on what their suggested actions are if you suspect a gas leak. I'm only sharing my old fire company's advice and your local station may have differing advice. We advise to not open doors or windows, to immediately vacate the building and call emergency services once safely outside. The reasoning for this is gases have an upper and lower explosive limit in which they may combust, meaning if the air to gas ratio falls above or below those limits, they will not combust. Opening the windows and doors may introduce oxygen needed to fall inside those limits. Plus spending extra time running around opening windows and doors keeps you in a very dangerous situation for much longer than you need to be. Without a meter, you do not know what the gas to air ratio is and if some automated electrical system like the compressor on the fridge or a light switch will provide the spark to detonate the mixture. Again, this was only my department SOP, but we preferred everyone to vacate immediately and let us make entry. In fact, the circumstances are so volatile and unknown during those calls. Our procedure was to kit fully up with our breathing systems on outside, stand outside the closed front door, and take a reading. Depending on the reading, we'd open the door and take another reading, depending on that reading, then would make entry. Depending on the reading, leave the door open or closed behind us. Take another reading in the first room and then determine if conditions favored a room by room search for the leak, or if they were too dangerous we'd evacuate and attempt to vent the house from the outside. Again though, thank goodness you recognized the situation and saved your grandmother. The owner of a Mexican restaurant threw 2 young farm workers at the bar out to the parking lot. They were drunk as monkeys and proceeded to try to fight, but mostly just leaned on each other, all in front of the picture window while the place is full of people. Then one runs to his trucks and burns rubber out of there. I said, "Time to go, honey." She says, "What? Those ales aren't done and I'm not going to be here when the shooting starts." We left. It did. Not long after. What's the etiquette on leaving immediately when you still have to pay? Do you just overpay in cash and walk out? Don't carry cash? Go to flag down the waiter and tell them you're in a rush, I guess. If you have cash, leave it. Otherwise say, "I don't feel safe, I'm leaving. I'll come back to pay later," and just leave. I don't give a frick about paying a tab if I'm thinking a shootout is about to happen. It would be better. Imagine if the police rolled up to get a statement about someone leaving without paying right as the drunk driving lunatic pulled up with a gun. Okay Reddit guys, subscribe now, or I will make you a scary present on Christmas.